Reverend. Reverend.
Pastor, what do we do for this
We'll
morning? It's my new way.
We'll let you go.
Okay, well, it's National Lupus Day, so I'm remembering my granddaughter today.
All right, good. You're all just in time. We're opening in prayer. All right, Miss Judy.
Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here today, this friendship and fellowship, and to help us learn more than we ever knew before about your works and the way things go from a long time ago through present times. We thank you for Pastor Chris for helping to enlighten us and learn things we never knew. And in honor of National Lupus Day today, Lord, please touch all those suffering with the disease. Give them strength.
One of our neighbors had lupus, or has lupus. I can't say she has. So, yes.
My daughter's friend passed from it younger. She, up to this day, she worried every time. Right.
Well, I hope everyone has had a good Mother's Day and a wonderful Monday. We're in today to look a little bit deeper into Nehemiah after they built this wall and got things going. They've had their festival of the trumpets. And now we had the prayer last week, right? The prayer of remembrance, the prayer that called everybody to remember what God had done for them, how God had brought them through, how God had kept them. And in so many words, how we were not doing what we had promised God we would do. So today we've got the signing of a covenant and the summary of the covenant. So let's see how that plays out. And I know in the beginning, the first, I'm assuming it's like the first 27 verses. It's just a list of the names of all of those persons who put their hand to the covenant and sealed it. They're the ones that signed it, that agreed that yes, we are going to go along with this covenant. So it actually, if you want to be honest, it starts back at verse 38 of chapter 9. So as I give you a good read, and I might skip these names because it's a lot of names, and we really don't want to know about all these names, but this is what it says in verse 38. It says, because of all of this, we make a firm agreement in writing, and on that sealed document are inscribed the names of our officials, our Levites, and our priests. Upon the sealed document are the names of Nehemiah, the governor, and we're going to stop there because everyone else attached their name to it. So these are the ones that signed the covenant, that said, yes, we're going to do what God has called us to do, commanded us to do. You know, we just had this wonderful prayer, and I really want y'all to see what this covenant says.
That sounds devilish.
It is amazing. So starting at verse 28, the rest of the people, the priests, the Levites, the gatekeepers, the singers, the temple servants, and all who have separated themselves from their people of the lands to adhere to the law of God, their wives, their sons, their daughters, all who have knowledge and understanding, join with their kin, their nobles, and enter into a curse and an oath to walk in God's law, which was given by Moses, the servant of God, and to observe and do all the commandments of the Lord, our Lord, and his ordinance, his statutes. So these folks have have separated themselves from people to adhere to the law. Some of them have separated from their wives, their sons, their daughters, their kinfolk. And they enter into a curse and an oath.
What's the
Why, yeah.
Because when I read this, it's saying all the things they're going to do, but I don't know what the curse is.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure I do. God's going to zap them or something.
God's not going to zap, but what happens when you don't follow the oath?
You zap.
Okay. Well, we'll put it in those terms. We get zapped.
One way or the other.
All hell breaks loose.
Right.
That works.
So, let's get down in there. Let me see.
You know this is going to be hard. We don't have somebody serious like Will to keep us reined in.
We can do that ourselves.
So verse 30 says, and this is what the covenant is saying: we will not give our daughters to the people of the land, or take their daughters for our sons. None of that marrying foreign women or foreign men. And if the people of the land bring in merchandise or any grain on the Sabbath day to sell, we will not buy it from them on the Sabbath or on a holy day. And we will forego the crops of the 7th year and the execution of every debt. All right, so what are they saying? It's all right to buy crops from them Monday through for them Sunday through Friday. On Saturday, we won't buy from them.
You can do business with them.
Except for
But
on
you
the Sabbath.
but you can't, like, intermingle.
Right. Okay. So there's no marrying. There's none of that getting close with them. But we can buy from them. Say it again.
And say, but not on the Sabbath. Yes, don't want you to do it on the Sabbath.
And we can't buy from them on the Sabbath.
Right.
The rest of the week we can buy. We can purchase from them. But on the Sabbath day, we're going to keep that holy, and we're not going to buy from them. And on the 7th year, we're not going to buy from them at all.
Well, it doesn't say that they won't buy from them. It says they won't work the land.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
mine says that.
yeah. So what did it say?
Work the land.
All right. So they won't work the land on the 7th year,
And cancel all debts.
and they will cancel all debts. I like that. On the 7th year.
Just like on the 7th day.
Right.
If you're a farmer, you gotta let the land.
Lay fallow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got to restore. It's got to turn the land over. I know when I attempted to play football when I was in high school. My mom was like, "Why you wait till your senior year to do something crazy like that?" So I didn't play. But every year after the season is over, the coach would go out and he would tear up the grass. And he would pour some diesel fuel on the field, and he would light the field on fire. After the fire was out, and the land had a chance, the land had a chance to settle, he would replant.
Hmm.
And the field would be nice and green, and it would come up thick like it should. So on the 7th year, they're giving the land a chance to rest. Kind of like what we're supposed to do on the 7th day. We're supposed to give our bodies a chance to rest, our spirit a chance to rest and recommune with God, to receive those nutrients, that nourishment that we should be, that would help feed us through the rest of the week.
is this like, okay, so every 7th year, they're not gonna work the land, so the people can't work the land, so they're gonna cancel the debts so they don't have to worry about working the land.
Correct.
But they can buy from the neighboring.
From other people that have worked their land, yeah.
Yeah.
But doesn't that make sense? That's good business? That on the 7th year, if you haven't been able to pay off all your debt, and we know in the 7th year you're not going to be able to make anything, cancel your debt. And we start fresh in 8th year, year 1 all over again.
Well, that would only work if your debt was to a fellow Israelite.
Right.
Rather than to somebody else out in the community that was not an
But
Israelite.
honestly, they don't do this out in the community though. You don't encourage debt from somebody else. Most of the debt stays within house.
Okay.
See, that's where we kind of got in trouble, where they get in trouble, because then if you go out and make debt with somebody else outside of your community, outside of your people, then what happens?
You still owe debt.
You owe a debt, and you still have to work on the days that you should be off. That's why we're in the situation we're in. Because we've run up debt with any and everybody, not folks in-house, but folks out of state, out of town, out of the country.
Mostly China.
Okay. And then we have to work to pay off that debt. And then we even have to go and work on Sundays or on our Sabbath to pay off the debt instead of relaxing. Debt has a funny way of hitting you. And then your focus is off of God. It's on paying my debt. I can't go to church today. I gotta go to work. I gotta pay off my debt. Ain't that how it happens?
Okay, yes.
That sounds like a family affair, like when a family come together and then you cancel. A family could owe you something and then you say, okay, it's all right. Like, say for instance, my niece owed me something and I just canceled because it's my niece.
Yeah.
This sounds like something like that, the family affairs.
But see, that only happens in the family. Family
That's
will
what I
forgive. But if you're not in the family,
Right.
you want what is owed. And not all families do that now. In today's time, family
Yeah.
hurt you quicker than the outside. Verse 32 says, we also lay on ourselves the obligation to charge ourselves yearly 1/3 of a shekel for the service of the house of our God. Now, as the pastor, as the preacher, as the head of the church, they're saying here, what are they saying, Miss Sherry?
It's a tithe.
Yeah.
That's right. They're going to give their tithe. We are laying on ourselves the obligation to charge ourselves yearly 1/3 of a shekel for the service of the house of our God. God only asked us for 1/10.
What is a shekel?
Well, see, you had to go and ask something like that.
I was just getting ready to look it up.
Well, I want to know the relevance, equivalence, sort of thing.
Well, 0.29 United States dollar.
Okay, so it's 29 cents.
Basic monetary unit of modern Israel equal to 100 ergarot. Okay.
But no, you did it when you said it was 0.29 of a dollar. It's 29 cents.
That's not much.
So if you really want to be honest, they're asking 1/3 of a shekel. 1/3 of 29 cents breaks down to
10 cents.
almost 10 cents.
9 point.
Almost 10 cents. 10% is what they're asking. That's how we end up with 10%. A shekel, 29, almost 30 cents out of the dollar, and you want a third of that 30 cents, is a dime. Isn't it funny? It's written here. This is what we're obligating ourselves to do for the house of God. We're going to lay aside a tithe, a tenth of our income yearly. And we get caught up on the minutiae of what that looks like. Is it a tenth of your gross? Is it a tenth of your net? Honestly, it really doesn't matter as long as you give a tenth. Because if you bring it in on the net, then you're still going to give a tenth when you get your income tax, right? And then you get something in. Every time you bring something in, it should be a tenth given to the church. Off the top. Not at the end. Your first fruits, not your last.
I know when I was
Boy,
when I was a kid and I babysat, that was the only way I could earn money back then.
Mm-hmm.
And if I brought home $1 for babysitting for 4 hours, probably because you didn't get much, a tenth of that had to go right then to the church.
That's right.
Yeah,
A dime went to the church.
They always said off the top.
Yep.
And that's what it is. Off the top, your first fruits. Before you do anything else with it, a tenth of it should be given to God.
Don't smile like that. You look like a Cheshire cat.
I need to turn the camera around, let everybody see who's in here this morning.
You want to pound that home, don't you?
Don't worry, my wife is on here too, so she's getting it.
Oh, okay.
I expect a tenth from her too.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
No exemptions, right?
Right, nobody. Hey, I get mine out. It comes before I even see it. It works. It makes it a lot easier when you do that. And the funny thing is, and we did this with our children. My daughter, she's got it. She's got this mission thing down. She's got this giving thing down to a science. It works. And because of that, she reaps benefits. My son, on the other hand, I don't know, I guess he's a typical male. I'm not sure how that works. Yeah.
Your son.
Yeah, my son. But he was having issues, right? No money. Well, you need to tithe. Give to God. All right, so he
It says,
tithe.
and in here it says, trust me.
Yeah, well, you know, we try to
tenfold.
lay it out to him, Sherry, but he just didn't get it. But he gave one Sunday. He put his tithe in. And the next thing you know, he had extra money. He was like, oh, this works. Like, yeah, you know, he'll stretch the 90 if you do the 10. Somewhere along the line, you know, it wasn't enough, so he's gone back to hoarding it. I don't know.
He's young.
He is. Those of you that's going to watch this later, give your 10th. 33 says, for the rolls of bread, the regular grain offerings, the regular burnt offerings, the Sabbath, the new moons, the appointed festivals, the sacred donations, and the sin offerings to make atonements for Israel, and for all the works of the house of our God. This is what that 1/3 is going to do. It goes for all of this, for the rolls of bread, for the regular grain offerings, for the regular burnt offerings. Their 10th is to help with all of this that takes place. We have also cast lots among the priests, the Levites, and the people for the wood offerings, to bring it into the house of our God by ancestral houses. at appointed times, year by year, to burn on the altar of the Lord our God, as it is written in the law. So understand, they're following what Moses had laid out for them to do, and they're making a covenant, a vow that this is what they're going to do. This covenant that we're talking about, blue letter says this: the general purpose of this covenant, they laid upon themselves no other burden than this necessary thing, which they were already obliged to by all other engagements of duty, interest, and gratitude, to walk in God's law and to do all his commandments, right? This is what they had already espoused to do from the beginning anyway. Isn't it funny when we know we're supposed to do something and then we find that we're not doing something? Now we make a covenant to do what we were supposed to do in the beginning anyway? I just don't get it.
Perhaps it's as much as anything a reminder of the promises that they made to God to follow his law and provide for his temple.
Okay. I like that. But here's the thing. In that our ancestors had already did it for us in the beginning, right? Because that's what the prayer was in chapter 9, reminding us of what God did for the ancestors for us to bring us through and what we were supposed to have done. Even to the fact it reminded us that in the wilderness we made a golden calf when we weren't supposed to, but God still kept us anyway and passed us over and got us into the promised land. And here we are now going back to what God had told us to do, and we're now going back and making a covenant or signing an obligation that we knew we were supposed to have done in the first place. And then what happens when you put your signature on something?
You're committed,
It's
hopefully.
binding, right?
Well, this is like they're going back
Right?
because they've been scattered for so long, and people were away from the way they did things before they got Jerusalem back together again.
Okay.
And they want to make sure that doesn't happen again. This is not new to them. This is what it was supposed to be in the first place. And they kind of got away from it. But now they're saying, okay, we're not going to do that again. We're going to live by this law.
Okay. Now see, I like that. That is excellent theology. That sound, breaking it down. We know this is what we're supposed to do. We've been scattered. Now we've come back together. We're going to go back to how it should be.
Excellent. I'm his favorite. What did she say?
Okay, can we strike that
I'm his favorite.
Wow.
Well, only for the moment.
Only for the moment. No.
I am barely speechless. That's
true.
I am now.
Wow. Verse 35.
Moving right along.
Yeah, moving right along.
I like it. We obligate ourselves to bring the first fruit of our soil and the first fruit of all fruit of every tree, year by year, to the house of the Lord. Also to bring to the house of our God, to the priest who minister in the house of our God, the firstborn of our sons and of our livestock, as it is written in the law, and the firstling of our herds and of our flocks. and to bring the first of our dough and our contributions, the fruit of every tree and wine and the oil, to the priests, to the chambers of the house of our God, and to bring to the Levites the tithes from our soil. For it is the Levites who collect the tithes in all of our rural towns.
Well, I kind of resent this. They,
Huh?
they don't want to see the girls.
Oh. I'm sorry.
That's not good enough.
What are you reading that from?
I
going
am
on
from
to
I'm down to verse 30. I went
No, I
to
meant
37.
it's-
For what?
They were so
Story of
different.
your sons
What
is
translation?
verse 36.
NRSV I have.
Okay, you have it.
Oh, no, this is came out the NIV. I went for NRSV. No,
Mine is the New Interpreters this time.
Okay.
Well, it is the NRSV. It is the
I
NRSV.
somehow got the wrong one this time.
New Interpreters Bible, NRSV.
All right.
Okay,
That's
so
why I'm having
it's the
trouble
same
following.
thing, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Seminary makes you do the NRSV. At that time, it was the closest to what was it?
That's what I typed in, but it's not.
It becomes the closest to inclusivity. Made it inclusive, all inclusive instead of more of a male sexist thing. So they're bringing everything in to bring in the first fruits. The first fruits of the ground, trees, the firstborn of their children, even the money wherewith they would be redeemed, and of their cattle. Exodus 13, 11 and 12 from the King James Bible says, And it shall be when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto thee, and to thy father, and shall give it thee, that thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast, come back here, of a beast which thou hast, the male shall be the Lord's. So that was Exodus given by Moses to them. So the first goes to God. It was given to the priest. Here we go. Numbers 18, 15 and 16 says, Everything that opened the matrix in all flesh, which they bring unto the Lord, whether it be of man or beast, shall be thine. Nevertheless, the firstborn of man shall they surely redeem, and the firstling of unclean beasts shalt thou redeem. And those that are to be redeemed from the month old shalt thou redeem according to thine estimation, for the money of live shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary, which is 20 gerahs. So Moses laid it down that your first fruits, everything, the first that you get should go to God. I believe that goes back to Adam and Eve, to Cain and Abel. When you bring your best normally is the first that comes. Everything else kind of begins to age and wither.
So is it the first male child or the first child that might be female?
Yeah, I'm sure back then.
Back then it was male. Because giving the first male, you would become a priest or a Levite. Goes back to God to become a priest. one that rightly divides the word. And remember, back then they did not have females that did it. That didn't happen until we got into the prophets.
But the way it reads, they could buy back the son. Is that it? It's to redeem them. I kind of looked it up and it said they could pay to get them back. Because that'd be an awful lot of male sons that would have to take care of. The priest would.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just.
I'm not certain.
I mean, they would still be given. They have to go back to their family to be raised. I guess that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And that's normally how it is anyway. I think the only ones that we know that was given over that the priest raised was Samuel. Yeah.
Okay.
38 says, and the priest, the descendant of Aaron, shall be with the Levites when the Levites receive the tithes. And the Levites shall bring up a tithe of the tithe on the house of our God to the chambers of the storehouse. For the people of Israel, of the sons of Levi, shall bring the contribution of grain, wine, and oil of the storeroom, where the vessels of the sanctuary are, and where the priests that minister, and the gatekeepers and the singers are. We will not neglect the house of our God. So, in honesty, in reality, what is happening, what it sounds like is that we're bringing a tenth, we're bringing a portion of the tithe into the storehouse for God. And we're bringing a portion of all the contributions into the house of God for a sacrifice. But at the same instance, you're still taking care of the priests and the Levites. You understand? That's why, was it Ezekiel? That's who raised Samuel, wasn't it? I forgot now.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was Ezekiel. He was a Levite. And his sons did
Too good.
right. They did real bad in the eye of God, which is why Samuel stepped in and took over. Ezekiel's sons were punished. This right here. They had access to the wines, all the grains, all of that, and they were stealing.
You sure it wasn't Eli?
There you go. That's him. That's him. Thank you,
Yeah.
Eli.
Very good.
Google is something else.
Oh.
Love it. I knew it was one of them E's. Yeah, Eli. So, again, Israel and the sons of Levi shall bring the contributions. And once, if you notice in here, it says, and the priest, the descendants of Aaron, shall be with the Levites when the Levites receive the tithes. Why?
I don't know.
To make sure they did it.
To make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Checks and balances. I like it in that you know what you're supposed to do. Blue letter says this. Concerning which there is a particular order given in the prophecy concerning the second temple. Bring in, let's see, what is this right here? There we go. To bring in their tenth likewise, which was due to the Levites, and a tenth out of those tenths to the priest. This was the law. But these dues had been withheld, in consequence of which God, by the prophet, charges them with robbing him. So when you're supposed to be bringing in stuff, guess what? They wasn't doing it. So that's why we've got people watching, checks and balances, making sure that Sherry brings in her tenth, and a tenth is what is recorded. Pam's supposed to bring in her tenth. Pam brings in a ninth.
Bad. That's why you got a broken arm.
He smote you.
Y'all are sick. Oh my God.
Alright, I used to like the people in this room, but it's fading fast.
I'm still
Spinning down.
But that's what it is. You're supposed to bring in your tenth, and the tenth comes out and goes to the priest. So what has been happening is folks have been robbing God. And it's like a little lie. You tell a lie long enough, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. If you rob God long enough, eventually you don't give it up.
True.
You know, I don't give my tithe today. I'll do it next time I get paid. What happens? Well, next time you get paid, well, something else comes up and you take all of it and give it someplace else. And eventually you do it enough, all your bills or whatever you want to do gets taken care of, and God never gets it. And then we get upset because we have no money. Because honestly, believe God will take care, will get what is due. If you don't believe, try it. Have your tenth that you're supposed to pay God, don't pay it. Watch, God will get the tenth and then some.
This is I wonder if it's easier for people. It certainly is for Rick and me. When the online came and your money was taken, you told them how much money to take.
Mm-hmm.
It would seem to me that people, that's the easy way to do it.
Yeah.
And as long as, because otherwise, I forgot to write the check, or
How much?
we have a set amount, and it doesn't get any bigger this year, and it doesn't get any smaller.
But see, that's the way, if you take it out before, it's like on your job. They take taxes out before you ever see your money, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
You cuss and fuss that is gone, but you never miss it.
Right.
So if it comes out, especially with our online giving now, if you set it to come out whenever, before you ever see it, the money comes out, you're squared away. IRAs, our retirement funds, it comes out before we ever bring in our check, so we never miss it. Same thing with God. If it comes off the top, and you never see it, you never miss it. But it's when you start seeing it and you start thinking, well, I could do this, I could do that. Then we start robbing God.
That's why I do mine the first. I write a check for at the first of the month, because I don't get the same every month for various reasons. But I write a check at the beginning of the month, not knowing exactly how much I'm going to get that month, but I know how much I got last month.
Okay.
That makes sense, yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I don't do automatic transfer.
Because it wouldn't be
it's
easier for
different.
you to
No.
do that.
I'd have to sit down and figure out what so guess what I would be getting that month.
But I guess we shouldn't get caught up on the 10th. The thing is, we should just give, making sure that you're giving to God, praise God.
Excuse me. Yeah.
And I find that since I've been in the ministry, it's kind of interesting because as you start getting into tithing and offerings, I don't know why, but this is what has been said. And I don't know if it's the church trying to get more money or what, but they say your tithe is the 10th. Everything above your 10th is an offering.
I thought the whole thing was an offering.
I don't know how it shakes out, but
No, I want I want to ask a question on this. Everybody tithes the 10th to the temple, and of that, the temple people get a 10th of what was tithed. The rest goes like in a storeroom. Is that for times of famine and hardship?
Every seventh year. it has to
Every
dip
7th year,
into
yeah.
it.
And
Yeah.
for every 7th year?
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's what I want you all to look at.
I mean, they don't burn or sacrifice everything
No, they don't sacrifice everything.
on the altar.
But I want you to think of it like this. Because me and Jack, we have this conversation quite often. That everything, when you're in the church, any and everything you need, you should be able to get right out of the church. Any and everything you need, for the most part, you should be able to find in the church. If you need work done at home, there should be someone in the church that you can go to that can take care of it for you, not outside.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
But that's how it is to be set up. Is that even when we go to the New Testament, we began after Jesus died, and you begin to see, is it Peter, Paul? My mind is.
God bless.
No, I don't feel badly.
What's this?
Well, the name will come to you later when you.
Yeah, but think about it. When they were talking to the people about bringing all of their fruits into the church, and the church dispersed it out, and then you had the rich man and his wife who said that they gave, but they didn't give, and they were.
Ananias and Sapphira talking about.
I think so. Yeah. So you find when you bring everything to the church, then the church makes sure that everyone in the church is taken care of. No one goes without. That's what the church does. That's how the church should operate. Everything comes in, but everything goes out. The church we should never be wealthy. Because if we're wealthy, then we're not doing our job. Everyone in our area should be taken care of from the church. No one should be hungry, no one should be homeless, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
No one should be without if you're in the church.
And that's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
That's-
that, in all reality now, with the sizes of some of the churches and everything, people aren't as close as they used to.
Yep. That's exactly right.
It's now, church is not seen as the number one in our lives. It's seen as, for a lot of people, something they do on Sunday to make themselves feel better. It's not like it's a real part of their lives. That's sad.
And that's why missions are so important.
True.
So you realize you all have grasped onto the hands-on mission, and you watch and see how the church is growing and moving. Because it's no longer hoarding or harboring, where what comes in goes out. And when you do those things, you make room and space for God to bless you more. That's the whole premise behind the 10th, the tithe, is that when you give, you open up for God to bless you more. But when nothing can come in because nothing can get out.
Right.
There's no space.
And then nothing coming, you have to open it.
Right. But when you open it, you also make space for stuff to leave. It's not one of these things. It can come in and then it stops. It has to be this. Because if nothing can get in here and everything's going out, then you're in trouble. When it's this way, you've got it coming in and going out. This way, nothing. And eventually, you starve and die.
Quick question, when is the mission meeting?
Thursday.
At what time?
Is it 3, I think?
3 o'clock.
I kind of heard it in the announcements when I watched Sunday service, but I couldn't quite make it out.
If it isn't, I'll let you know.
Yeah, May 12th at 3.
Okay, good, thank you.
Well, let's see if we can get into chapter 11. We kind of quickly rushed through chapter 10 because we skipped all of those names. I was waiting on Miss Agnes to start telling me these people's names.
Names I tried, but
I think we'll catch up on some of the names here in the next chapter.
Oh, lovely.
This one is the NRSV, so this one came out right.
So here we go in chapter 11. Jerusalem was walled around, right? They finished the wall, but it was not yet fully inhabited. Therefore, it was weak and despicable. Now, this is according to Blue Letter. So Nehemiah's next care is to bring people into it. Of that, we have here an account.
We have a what?
Question, what
Yes.
is Blue Letter?
Commentary I use. Yeah. So, now, the leaders of the people lived in Jerusalem. So after we built the walls up, we've got the houses in it, some of the houses in it. We've had these great ceremonies and celebrations and festives. We've prayed and we've signed covenants, we've pledged, we've done some things. We realize not everybody is back. It's a handful of people that have come back into the city. So we've got to get folks back in. It's funny because it's the same thing in the church. The church is built. There's a handful of people in the church. What do? Our job is to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. Our job is to bring folks in. Their job is to bring people in. Now the leaders of the people lived in Jerusalem, and the rest of the people cast lots to bring one out of 10 to live in the holy city, Jerusalem, while 9/10 remained in the other towns. And the people blessed all those who willingly offered to live in Jerusalem. Isn't that funny?
That sounds almost opposite. Like they're saying they cast lots for people to go, and then, but yet they blessed those who willingly offered. Well, if they were willingly offering, why did they cast lots?
Sounds like the Hunger Games, doesn't it?
I only saw one of those. So.
I mean, either way it went, they all had to, before the game, someone had to be pulled out of the, plucked up in order to go. So here, it's the same thing. They're casting lots to see who goes. And the winner, everyone is, hey!
Isn't that gambling, casting lots?
Hey. Jack, stop it. No poker nights.
You work with what you have at the time.
This is a poker face.
I see.
Back then, that's just the way they did things.
That's condoning gambling.
They cast lots for Jesus' outfits too.
The Romans do.
They did. I wonder if they got that from Israel.
I doubt it.
Hey, they're doing it here.
I know.
But in this way, aren't they doing it to do something good for someone? Instead of fighting over who's going,
I guess that's the best way to look at it. Who's the
they
lucky
think
person to
it's
go?
the only fair way to do it, is to make it unbiased.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's cool. Unbiased.
Maybe they think God is with the ones that win.
Judy is so funny. Oh my God. I'm sorry, say it again.
I said maybe they were thinking that God would be with those that won, so they would win.
Okay, in my commentary thing, it says, in addition to those chosen by lots, some volunteered out of a sense of duty, but evidently most preferred to stay in their own hometowns.
I think
Sounds
that's,
like there are two groups, the ones chosen in lots, and then there were some who also came.
I think it's like that everywhere though. You've got people that volunteer to do stuff. And then you've got those that you have to pull, they have to go kicking and screaming. Yeah,
Reel them in.
reel them in.
Like me. I hardly volunteer to do anything.
Oh, we got you. Don't worry, we got you.
At my church, I don't.
We got a committee for you.
Volunteer.
And if not, we'll make one.
There you go.
Accompanied by a potluck.
So Blue Letter says this: Jerusalem is called here the Holy City, because there the temple was, and that was the place God had chosen to put his name there. Upon this account, one would think the Holy Seed should have chosen to dwell there and have striven for a habitation there. But on the contrary, it seems they declined dwelling there. Not everybody wanted to be there.
Well, they had their homes and the farms or businesses outside of the city of Jerusalem, right?
Yeah, you're leaving behind wife, husband, daughter, son, servants, your fields, all of that to move into Jerusalem.
And you were going to have to live under their laws where, like, you might have been married to somebody that you couldn't be married to anymore because they were the wrong people. So,
You gotta let go of those foreigners.
well, then I'm rescinding my original thing that it was fair for them to do that. It was just the luck of the draw.
Some people wanted to go, but others did not. Imagine being married for 15 years to your spouse.
And then
Your name get called.
Well, isn't it that Christian thing about not being yoked unequally?
Being unequally yoked.
Yes. Marriages.
Yeah, but if you were happy.
Oh,
They don't
yeah,
ask
that's
if you're happy. It says those who believe in God and who do not be unhappily yoked. Unevenly yoked.
Yeah, unequally yoked.
Isn't that right?
They didn't really talk about happy.
I like
just-
it.
It's not really.
Different.
You were told who to marry at
Yeah,
that point.
it was different.
Most of the time, it was already
Arranged.
It was arranged.
Yeah.
Until you were like, who was it? Not Lot. Jacob. No, not Jacob. Esau. Because Esau married the wrong women. He married 3 wrong women.
Leah and, well,
No, Jacob got Leah and Rachel. His brother Esau went out and married foreign women because he had lost the birthright and the other one.
blessing,
Yeah, there you go. He lost those 2.
father's blessing.
Yeah, but he went
Yeah,
out and married foreign women. He married foreign women, and then thought he would get good by marrying in the family, but he married the wrong side of the family. Read it.
We just did.
Huh?
How can you be on the wrong side of a family if you're a family?
There were certain people, come on now,
There's some family.
Where am I reading
Read about, go back, I think it's in Genesis, read in Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
Esau. He went out and married foreign women,
Her name started with an A.
and then he turned around and, you're supposed to marry it within the family or marry within your people, and he married the wrong side of the people or something. Crazy.
I married a woman that started with A. It sounded like she was one of Ishmael's descendants.
Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Where am I? Oh, okay. These are the leaders of the province who lived in Jerusalem, but in the towns of Judah, all lived on their property in their towns. Israel, the priests, the Levites, the temple servants, and descendants of Solomon's servants. And in Jerusalem lived some of the Judites, and of the Benjaminites, of the Judites. See, I'm not even going to go through all these names. Athaiahite, son of Uzziah, son of Zechariah, son of Amariah, son of that's right. Shephatiah, son of Mahalalel. Was that it? Mahalalel?
Uh-huh.
Of the descendant of Perez, and Maaseiah, son of Barak, son of Kahozan, son of Haziah, son of Adaiah, there you go, Adaiah, son of Joarib, son of Zechariah, son of Shalonite. All the descendants of Perez who lived in Jerusalem were 468 valiant warriors.
Let's not try those names again.
Thank you.
That's some of the big shots, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and by the way, I'm really offended now that you told me to read this, because the first two wives, one of them was Judith. And she's adulterous and idolatrous, and I'm sorry I read that.
You just had to look.
I had to look. You told me to read it.
Ignorance is good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go right back under my rock.
You're no longer the favorite? You adulteress.
Oh, I didn't say I wasn't the favorite.
So the Benjaminites were there, the priests were there, the Levites were there, the gatekeepers were there, the overseers of the Levites were there. And for you all that are going to watch this later, we're skipping all of these names because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And Miss Agnes don't want to tell me who they are.
And it doesn't contribute to the...
I only can read these names by myself because I can't pronounce it in public.
Yeah.
So these are the people that are going in. Villagers outside of Jerusalem. And as for the villagers with their fields, some of the people of Judah lived in this place. And we're not going through all of these either. Good gracious.
All it is a listing.
It's
the
just a list of
Benjamites,
people.
the priests, and the Levites.
Yeah. So, honestly, we could have skipped chapter 11 altogether.
Pretty much.
Oh,
Well, it didn't look too good in the beginning.
Yeah, 12 doesn't look too good until you get over to verse 27. Then we start picking up some stuff. What time is it?
after 11.
10 after 11. We're going to call it, man. This is crazy.
Can I read you something?
Sure.
Oh, I see how it is, Dan. You want to be the favorite. Okay.
No, I don't. And
The
I
laptop is probably on the chair back
It's a
there.
competition. First it was Judy, and then she became a bad woman.
Scoundrel.
I won't accuse you of adultery, but your namesake.
Wow.
This is completely off topic. But I have to share this with you. So my daughter, as you know, is in China, and things keep going from bad to worse there.
Yes, and I keep thinking of her.
And so she sent us this message this morning. Can I find it?
What?